Hi viewers, this is J. Swami, Assistant Professor of Zoology. Today we are going to discuss the external respiration. Usually there are three stages in the respiration: external, internal and the cellular respiration. Apart from all these three, now we are going to discuss the external respiration. In the external respiration, we see respiratory movements, that is inspiration and expiration, inhalation and exhalation. Regulation of respiration, how the medulla that regulates the inspiration and expiration we will discuss briefly. Third one, exchange of gases in lungs, how the O2 enters into the blood of the capillaries and how the CO2 enters into the lungs. These three things comes under external respiration. In the respiratory movements, we discuss the mechanism of breathing. Mechanism of breathing includes inspiration and the expiration. Inspiration and the expiration. That is nothing but the respiratory movements. One inspiration and expiration is one breathing. Right? Now, in the inspiration, what happens is there are two things. Inspiration is a active process, whereas the expiration is a passive process. Inspiration is a active process because it requires energy for the contraction of muscles of diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles. See what happens in the inspiration. In the inspiration, we see now the diaphragm, basically it is dome shape. Diaphragm basically it is in dome shape. Due to the contraction of the muscles of diaphragm, it become flattened. It become flattened. Due to the flattening of the diaphragm, there is an enhancement of the thoracic cavity in the antero-posterior direction. First thing that is. And second one, due to the contraction of the external intercostal muscles of the ribs, the thoracic cavity get extended in the dorsoventral direction as well as in the lateral sides. So totally the entire thoracic cavity extended antero-posteriorly and dorsoventrally and laterally too, due to the contraction of muscles of diaphragm and external intercostal muscles. Overall, there is an enhancement of the entire thoracic cavity and thereby the pressure of the lungs, the air which is present in the lungs, that will be lowered. Due to the negative pressure, the air is inhaled in. The air is inhaled in. We know the route of respiration: external nostrils, nasal passage; internal nostrils, nasopharynx; larynx, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, finally reaches the alveoli, which is the structural and functional unit of the lung. This is inspiration. And coming to the expiration, what happens in the expiration is, in the expiration, the relaxation of the muscle. Basically, there are two things in the expiration. The normal expiration is a passive process. It do not require any kind of energy. But the forceful expiration is requiring energy for the contraction of internal intercostal muscles and the abdominal muscles. Right? The normal expiration is known as the eupnea. Normal expiration is known as the eupnea, whereas forceful expiration is known as the dyspnea. Eupnea is the normal expiration and dyspnea is the forceful expiration. So normal expiration is a passive mechanism and the forceful expiration is a active mechanism, we should remember. For the forceful expiration, we require energy for the contraction of internal intercostal muscles and the abdominal muscles. Now what happens in the expiration? Due to the relaxation of the diaphragm, muscles of the diaphragm, it takes its own position, it obtains its native position, that is the dome shape, and due to the relaxation of the external intercostal muscles, there the thoracic cavity get narrowed, that is they gain their own position, thereby the entire thoracic cavity get compressed, otherwise take its own position, thereby the pressure within the lungs get enhanced and the air which is present in the lungs that expelled out again through the same route of respiration in the opposite way, from the alveoli to bronchioles, bronchus, trachea, larynx, nasopharynx, internal nostrils, nasal passage, external nostrils to outside. This is the expiration. Both of them, inspiration and expiration, both of them, they collectively called as a respiratory movements. They are called as a respiratory movements. So this is about the matter about the inspiration, and this is about the expiration. Normal expiration is the eupnea and forceful expiration is the dyspnea. And if you observe the second side heading, apart from the external respiration, that is a regulation of respiration. How the respiratory movements or respiration, inspiration and expiration get regulated. In general, there are, for example, this is the brain, and these are the lungs. Now, in the brain, we know forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. In the hindbrain, we have the medulla oblongata or medulla. In the medulla, we have higher regulatory centers of the respiration. In other way, regulatory centers of inspiration and regulatory centers of expiration. These are present in the medulla. Now, this medulla sends the stimulus. Medulla transmits the stimulus from medulla towards the lungs. Medulla to lungs. So that is lungs in the sense to the muscles of diaphragm and to the muscles of external intercostal muscles. Now, what happens whenever the signal stimulus transported from medulla to the muscles of the diaphragm and the muscles of the external intercostal muscles, both of them they get contracted and they enhance the thoracic cavity, and thereby there is a development of the negative pressure within the lungs. Then we will inspire the air into the lungs. This is the first step. And in the next step, what happens? Due to the inspiration, we take more air into the lungs, and the pressure receptor which are present inside the lungs, they send a sensory stimulus through the vagus nerve to the inspiratory center. What may be the sensory stimulus, information which is passed through the vagus nerve is to stop the inspiratory movement, to stop the signal of inspiration. and thereby inspiration is stopped and expiration starts. Expiration starts. Right? During that time, the air which is present inside the lungs, that is expelled out. That is expelled out. So that is, there is a rhythmic regulation of inspiration and expiration. What happens in inspiration? Stimulus from inspiration center goes to diaphragm muscles and extraintercostal muscles to the motor nerves, and they contract, they increase the area of the thoracic cavity, and as and when we inspire the air, the pressure receptors of the lungs, they send the sensory impulse through the vagus nerve to the inspiratory center to stop the inspiration and start the expiration. This happens in the first phase. And afterwards, due to the low pressure in the lungs, after the expiration, what happens? There is after starting of the expiration, the air sent out, due to the low pressure in the lungs, the pressure receptors stop sending the inhibitory signals to the respiratory center. The expiration also gets stopped. Again, the medulla, otherwise the inspiratory regulatory centers, again they send the stimulus. So, right like this, there is a rhythmic stop and start of the inspiration and expiration taking place. This kind of reflex is known as Hering-Breuer reflex. It is very important thing in the examination point of view, competitive examination point of view. Most of the times it has been asked, most of the times the named reactions, they will be usually asked in the competitive exams. This is the Hering-Breuer reflex. And the other factors that affect the respiration are physical factors, temperature, pressure, concentration of CO2, pH, and psychological factors. And psychological factors, they play a role in the regulation of the respiration. And the third stage is the gaseous exchange. How the exchange of gases takes place within the lungs. Basically, the gaseous exchange takes place in three phases. Gaseous exchange in the first phase, that takes place in between the environment and the alveoli. Environment and the lungs, respiratory organs. And in the second phase, in between the alveoli and the lung capillaries. Alveoli, over the surface of the alveoli, we see the enrichment of the capillaries. Capillarization is highly seen around the alveoli. Next, in the third phase, there is a exchange of gases in between blood and tissues. There are three phases: outer environment to the lungs, and alveoli to the blood capillaries, and blood to the tissues. These are the three phases. According to the physiologist, famous physiologist Honel, there is a comparison of the O2 and CO2 in inspiration air and the expiration air. In the inspiration air, approximately 21% of oxygen is there and 0.04% of carbon dioxide is there. Whereas in the case of expiration air, while we are exhaling the air, the oxygen concentration is lowered to 16.30, whereas the carbon dioxide is enhanced to 4.38. So if you see the difference in between these two, when we subtract the values, we get the difference. 4.64% of oxygen we will consume and 4.34% of carbon dioxide we will expel out. This is the calculation according to the physiologist Honel. Next, the gaseous exchange takes place in the physical process that is known as the diffusion. Diffusion is the flow or transport of material transport of gases according to the concentration gradient from higher concentration level to the lower concentration level. This is explained in a best way by the Fick's law of diffusion. Fick's law of diffusion. According to the Fick's law, R is equal to rate of diffusion is equal to D into A delta P by D. D into A delta small p by small d. Right? R is equal to rate of diffusion. D is equal to diffusion constant. A is equal to area of diffusion. And delta P is equal to difference in partial pressure of gases inside the alveoli and outside the alveoli. And small d that represents the thickness of diffusion membrane. This is the Fick's law of diffusion. And rate of diffusion, it is basically depend upon partial pressure of gases. Second one, solubility of gases. Third one, thickness of the membrane involved in the diffusion. These are the three things that play a major role in the rate of diffusion. We will see one by one. See the partial pressure. Simply, what is the partial pressure is? The air contains 79% of nitrogen, approximately 80, 21% of oxygen and 0.03% of carbon dioxide. How we will get the partial pressure is, if the total amount of the pressure, atmospheric pressure, if it is 100, so out of 100, 70% contributed by, 80% contributed by nitrogen, 20.9% by the oxygen, 0.03 by the carbon dioxide. Now let us see the total is at the sea level, the atmospheric pressure is 760 mmHg. We will multiply the 760 with 79, we will get 600. 760 into 20.93, approximately 160. 760 into 0.03, it is 0.2 millimeters of mercuric pressure. So that is, all the gases collectively establish the atmospheric pressure, that is 760. Out of 760, individually they contribute something. 600 is contributed by 600 mmHg contributed by nitrogen, 160 contributed by oxygen and 0.2% contributed by the carbon dioxide. So the individual pressure of all these gases is the partial pressure, and collectively it is called as the atmospheric pressure. So here it is the partial pressure of the nitrogen is 600. So we don't bother about the nitrogen. Let us come to the oxygen. It is approximately 160 and carbon dioxide 0.2 mmHg. Then see the in various regions of the respiratory tract, what is the partial pressure of oxygen and CO2? In the atmospheric air, we have of about 160% of oxygen, whereas in the alveoli there is a 104. So according to the concentration gradient from atmospheric air to alveoli, the transport of oxygen takes place. And in the blood, it is deoxygenated blood, it is only 40. So 104 to 40. Right? In the oxygenated blood, in the capillaries it is 95. So that in the tissues it is 40, from 95 to 40. According to the concentration gradient, the oxygen transported from higher concentration level to the lower concentration level. In the same way, if you observe the carbon dioxide, in the tissues it is almost all 45 mmHg, and in the blood, oxygenated blood, it is only 40, from 45 to 40. And in the deoxygenated blood, it is 45. In the alveoli, it is only 40, from 45 to 40. And in the alveoli, it is 40, and in the atmospheric, it is only 0.3. then 40 to 0.3. Carbon dioxide also, it transports from higher concentration level to the lower concentration level according to the concentration gradient. That is again based upon the partial pressures of oxygen and CO2. So this diagram represents the partial pressures of O2 and CO2 in various regions and how they transport according to their concentration gradient. In the atmospheric air, the oxygen is of about 160, 159 or 160, and then in the alveoli it is 104, same previous example only. And from the 104 in the blood capillaries, it is 40 from 100 or 104, from 104 to 40. In the same way, CO2, here it is 45 to blood 40, and from 40 to 0.3. So, according to the concentration gradient, there is a transport of gases from higher concentration level to the lower concentration level. And the second condition is solubility of gases. Here, if you compare the solubility of carbon dioxide and oxygen, solubility of carbon dioxide is 20 to 25 times greater than the solubility of the oxygen. Solubility of carbon dioxide is 20 to 25 times greater than the solubility of the oxygen, so that the CO2 easily dissolves in the water and it is diffused quickly in the environment. This is the solubility of the gases. And thickness of the diffusion membrane. What is the diffusion membrane? That is, the diffusion membrane is a membrane through which actually the O2 and CO2 cross through or pass through. This diffusion membrane made up of three membranes, namely squamous epithelium of the alveoli, basal membrane of the lungs, endothelium layer of the blood capillaries. All of these three, they fuse to form a membrane like this, and the thickness of the membrane is only 0.2 to 0.5 micrometers. 0.2 to 0.5 micrometers. What is the statement here? It is thinner is the membrane, faster is the diffusion, more is the diffusion. Thin is the membrane, more is the diffusion. This is the thickness of the diffusion membrane. Here we will observe the three layers. Here this is the epithelium of the alveoli, followed by basal membrane and followed by endothelial membrane of the blood capillaries. Endothelial membrane of the blood capillaries. So this unit is the respiratory membrane, diffusion membrane. Right? Now the O2 has to cross epithelial membrane of the alveoli, followed by basal membrane and followed by endothelial membrane of the blood capillary. At the same time, CO2 also cross the endothelial membrane of the capillary, basal membrane and the epithelial, squamous epithelium of the alveoli. Now, if you observe the sequence, the in the blue color RBC, that represent the deoxygenated blood, while it passed through the pulmonary artery, the blue color slowly, whenever it is getting oxidizing, slowly converted into purple, and after the release of the CO2, they become red. That is, deoxygenated blood get oxygenated while it is traveling through the capillaries around the alveoli. That we have to understand. And what happens here, it is a beautiful mechanism where it facilitates the more oxygen will be grasped while it is traveling through the RBC traveling through the capillaries. What happens is the size of the RBC is more when compared to the diameter of the blood capillaries. Thereby, the RBC which are biconcave in structure, they have to modify their shape slightly and they bent like a umbrella. Here we will clearly observe if the RBC bent like a umbrella. As and when the bend like the umbrella, there is enhancement of the surface area and thereby they obtain more oxygen rather than when they are in the round shape. Whenever they bent like the umbrella, due to the enhancement of the surface area, they obtain more oxygen. First thing is the size is more, RBC size is more than the diameter of the capillary. Second one, they bend slightly and form umbrella like structure and thereby enhancement of the surface area of the RBC that facilitates absorption of more oxygen. And due to the narrow way within the capillary, they move very slowly through the tunnel, through the capillary, and thereby it gives more time for the oxygen to be absorbed by the RBC. That facilitates the absorption of RBC in more amount. See here, arrangement of the capillaries affects the diffusion. How? Diameter of capillary is less than the RBC. The RBC gain umbrella shape, obtain more oxygen due to increase of surface area. RBC moves slowly through the capillary and they are available for more time for the oxygen diffusion. And diffusion of gas is more effective in alveoli due to, we have already learnt that there are 700 millions of alveoli are there. If you arrange them side by side, they occupy of about 70 to 90 square meters of area, surface area, that is equal to tennis court. Huge surface that make the effective diffusion of gases. And thin diffusion membrane, just now we discussed, that is 0.2 to 0.5 micrometers. And we have already discussed that is there are the epithelial cells which secrete a foam like material substance which is known as surfactant. That surfactant makes easy the exchange of gases, that make diffusion of exchange of gases, it is making easy. This is all about the external respiration. Thank you one and all.